I never thought I'd be the kind of person who runs. I mean, I was always the guy who found excuses to skip gym class, who took the elevator when the stairs were right there, who ordered delivery instead of walking 3 blocks. But then I moved to Portland for work, knew absolutely no one, and my therapist back home had said something about endorphins and community, so I figured what the hell. I downloaded a Couch to 5K app and started shuffling around my neighbourhood at 6 in the morning when no one could see how badly I sucked at it. That's where I met Caspian. I know, right? Who names their kid Caspian? But somehow it fit in perfectly. It was a Tuesday morning, raining of course, because Portland, and I was doing my pathetic week 3 routine, basically jogging for 90 seconds and then gasping for air, when this guy came up beside me. He had on this bright yellow rain jacket that should have looked ridiculous but didn't, and he matched my pace exactly. Not his pace, mine. My horrible, embarrassing, barely faster than walking pace. He smiled at me, this easy smile like we were old friends, and said, "Mind if I join you? I'm trying to slow down my tempo runs." I was too out of breath to answer, so I just nodded, and he stayed with me for the rest of my route. 23 minutes of intervals that probably felt like torture for someone who clearly actually knew how to run. When we finished, he stretched against a tree and introduced himself properly. Caspian. He'd just moved here too, software engineer, lived 2 blocks away. He asked if I ran this route often. I should have said no. I should have said I was just trying it out, that I usually ran at different times, anything to not seem desperate for a friend. Instead I said, every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 a.m, and he said, "Cool, see you Thursday then." Thursday came and I almost didn't go. I lay in bed at 5:45 telling myself he wouldn't actually show up, that he was just being polite, that I should save myself the embarrassment. But some stubborn part of me got up anyway, and there he was at the corner where we'd met in that same yellow jacket, smiling like he'd been looking forward to this. We fell into a routine. Tuesdays and Thursdays became Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays. He always matched my pace. Always. Even as I got better, as my intervals got longer and my walking breaks got shorter, he stayed right beside me. I'd see other runners pass us, people who were clearly going the speed Caspian could handle, and I'd feel this flush of embarrassment. But he never seemed bothered. He'd just keep talking, telling me about his work or asking about mine, making these observations about the neighbourhood, the way the light hit the river, the coffee shop that had the best pastries. I started looking forward to those runs more than anything else in my week. I'd find myself thinking about things to tell him, stories from my job at the marketing firm, funny things I'd noticed. I bought new running shoes and actually cared about what I wore, which was weird because I'd never been that guy. I told myself it was just nice to have a friend, that I was lonely in a new city, that this was normal. Then one Saturday, about 2 months in, we were cooling down after a particularly good run, where I'd managed 4 miles without stopping, and Caspian said, "You know, you're getting really fast. Pretty soon you're going to be dropping me." He was joking, obviously, because I'd seen him run. I'd seen him sprint the last 100 meters of our route once when he thought I wasn't looking, and he moved like something wild and free, like running was as natural as breathing. I said, "Right, because I'm definitely faster than you." And he got this look on his face, something I couldn't quite read. He said, "You could be. You've got good form. You're stronger than you think." The way he said it, looking right at me, made something flip in my chest. I laughed it off, said something stupid about how he was clearly the athlete here, and we went our separate ways. But I couldn't stop thinking about that look, about the way he'd said I was stronger than I thought, about how he'd shown up twice a week for 2 months to run at my pace when he could have been doing whatever serious runners do. I started noticing things I'd been trying not to notice. The way his hair curled when it got wet, how he'd touch my shoulder when he was making a point. The fact that he'd started bringing me coffee sometimes, the fancy kind from that place he liked. Always with oat milk because he'd remembered I mentioned being lactose intolerant once. I was in trouble. I was in serious trouble and I knew it. I'd dated women in college, had a girlfriend for 2 years who I'd cared about but never quite felt that spark with. We'd broken up amicably, and I'd told myself I just wasn't a relationship person, that I was focused on my career. But the truth I'd been avoiding was that I'd never let myself look at men the way I wanted to. Growing up in a small town in Ohio with a father who used certain words casually, with friends who thought gay was an acceptable insult, I'd learned early to keep that part of myself locked down so tight I'd almost convinced myself it wasn't there. Except it was there. It had always been there. and now it was right in front of me in a yellow rain jacket, asking me if I wanted to grab breakfast after our next run. We went to this diner that served portions way too big and coffee that tasted like it had been sitting since yesterday. Caspian ordered French toast and let me steal bites off his plate even though I'd said I wasn't hungry. We talked for 2 hours. He told me about growing up in Seattle, about his parents who were both professors, about his younger sister who was studying marine biology. He asked me real questions, the kind that showed he actually listened to my answers. What had made me want to work in marketing? Did I miss home? What was I running from besides the obvious? That last question caught me off guard. I said, "What do you mean?" And he shrugged, smiled a little. Most people don't start running in a new city at 6 in the morning unless they're trying to outrun something. Thoughts, usually. Feelings. He said it gently, like he knew about running from things. I should have deflected. Instead, I said, "Maybe I'm running towards something," and the way he looked at me then, I knew he understood. I knew he saw me, and it was terrifying and exhilarating, and I had to look away, had to make some joke about the terrible coffee to break the tension. But something had shifted. We started texting between runs. Stupid stuff at first, memes and articles, but then longer conversations, late-night texts when neither of us could sleep. He told me about his ex-boyfriend, a guy named Marcus who'd cheated on him, and how he'd moved to Portland partly for work, but partly to start over. He said it casually, like it was no big deal, but I felt like the world had tilted. Ex-boyfriend. He'd just told me he was gay, and I was sitting there on my couch at 11 p.m. with my heart racing. I typed and deleted about 15 responses before settling on, "That sucks. I'm sorry he did that to you." Caspian sent back, "Thanks, I'm over it now. Better things ahead, you know." And then, "What about you? Any heartbreaks in your past?" I stared at that message for a long time. I could lie. I could tell him about my ex-girlfriend and let him assume, or I could be brave. I could be honest for once in my life. I typed, "Nothing that dramatic. I've been pretty good at avoiding anything real." And then before I could stop myself, "I think I've been avoiding a lot of things, actually." Those 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "That's exhausting though, isn't it? All that avoiding." I wrote back, "Yeah, it really is." We didn't talk about it directly after that, but something had been acknowledged. Some door had been opened. Our runs felt different. I'd catch him looking at me and my skin would feel electric. When we stretched afterward and his hand would brush mine, I'd feel it for hours. I was falling for him and I didn't know how to stop it, wasn't sure I wanted to. Then came the Saturday that changed everything. We'd planned a longer run, 6 miles, which was huge for me. I'd been training up to it for weeks and Caspian had been so encouraging, telling me I was ready, that I was going to crush it. We started out in the early morning fog, the city still quiet around us, and I felt strong. Really strong. My breathing was steady, my legs felt good, and for the first time I understood why people said they loved running. I felt powerful. Around mile 4, I realized something. I was pulling ahead. Not by much, just a few steps, but I was setting the pace and Caspian was following. I glanced back at him and he was smiling. This huge, genuine smile, and he called out, "Don't wait for me. Go!" So I did. I pushed harder than I ever had, felt my muscles burn in a good way, felt my heart pounding strong and sure. I ran the last 2 miles faster than I'd ever run in my life, and when I finally stopped at our usual endpoint, I was gasping and sweating and laughing. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. I turned around, expecting to see Caspian right behind me, but he wasn't there. I waited, catching my breath, and after about 3 minutes he came jogging up, not running full out, just jogging, easy and relaxed. He could have caught me any time. He'd chosen to stay back. He'd always chosen to stay back. When he reached me, he was barely breathing hard. He said, "You were amazing. I knew you could do it." And I just stared at him, at this man who'd spent months running at my pace when he could have been so much faster, who'd shown up every single time, who'd brought me coffee and made me laugh and seen something in me I hadn't seen in myself. I said, "You slowed down." My voice came out rough, emotional. "Just now you slowed down. You always slow down." Caspian's smile faded into something more serious. He stepped closer. "Yeah, I do." "Why?" I needed to hear him say it. Needed to know if I was reading this right or if I was projecting everything I felt onto him. He looked at me for a long moment, and I could see him deciding something, taking his own leap. Because I like running with you, Marcus. I like being with you. I don't want to finish before you, because then it would be over, and I'd have to wait to see you again. He paused. And because watching you get stronger, watching you surprise yourself, that's better than any personal record I could set. My name is Marcus. I hadn't mentioned that before, because it felt important to wait, to let you get to know me first without that detail. But hearing him say it, the way he said it, made everything feel real, made this moment real. I said, I think I'm falling for you. It came out as barely more than a whisper. I think I've been falling for you since that first Tuesday, and it scares the hell out of me. Caspian reached out and took my hand. Right there on the street corner with early morning joggers passing by and the city waking up around us. He laced his fingers through mine. I'm scared too, he said. I got my heart broken and I told myself I'd be careful. But then there you were, trying so hard, being so genuine, and I couldn't help it. He squeezed my hand. I'm already gone on you, Marcus. Have been for weeks. I kissed him. I'd never kissed a man before, never let myself even imagine it properly, but I kissed him there in my running clothes with my hair a mess and my heart still racing from the run. He kissed me back, gentle and sure, his free hand coming up to cup my face. It felt like everything clicking into place. It felt like coming home. When we pulled apart, I was crying a little, which was embarrassing, but Caspian just wiped my tears with his thumb and smiled. So, he said, do you want to get breakfast? Actual breakfast this time, somewhere nice? I laughed, nodded. Yeah, I really do. We walked back toward the neighbourhood holding hands, and I felt lighter than I had in years. Maybe ever. All that time I'd spent avoiding, hiding, trying to be someone I wasn't, and here I was. Here we were. Caspian said, For the record, I'm still going to run at your pace. I like it. It's ours. And something about that, about him claiming our pace as something that belonged to both of us, made me fall even harder. That was 4 months ago. We're together now, really together, and it's nothing like I expected and everything I needed. He still shows up for every run, still matches my pace even though I'm faster now, fast enough that we're actually training for a 10K together. He's teaching me that love isn't about someone racing ahead or holding you back. It's about finding someone who wants to run beside you, who celebrates your speed and doesn't mind slowing down when you need it. I came out to my parents last month. It was hard. It's still hard. But Caspian was there when I made the call, holding my hand the whole time, and afterward when my dad didn't respond well, Caspian just held me and reminded me that family is what you make it, that I was brave, that he was proud of me. I'm learning that being seen, really seen, is worth the fear, that letting someone in, letting yourself be vulnerable, that's where the real strength is. I spent so long running from myself, and it took someone slowing down for me to realize I was worth catching up to. This morning we did our usual Saturday route. 6 miles, same as always. And when we finished, I wasn't thinking about my time or my pace. I was just thinking about how lucky I am, how this man in his yellow rain jacket saw something in me before I saw it in myself, and how he waited, patient and steady, for me to catch up. We're getting coffee now, the good kind from his favourite place. He's telling me about his sister's visit next month, asking if I want to meet her. Of course I do. I want all of it, all the small moments and big ones, all the runs and conversations and quiet mornings. I want to keep discovering who I am with someone who makes me feel safe enough to look. Caspian reaches across the table and takes my hand, and I think about that first Tuesday, how I almost didn't go, how different my life would be if I'd stayed in bed, how many versions of myself I'd still be running from. But I didn't stay in bed. I showed up, and so did he. And he kept showing up, kept slowing his pace, kept waiting for me to realize what we could be together. I squeeze his hand back and smile. We've got a long run ahead of us, him and me, and for the first time in my life I'm not afraid of the distance. I'm just grateful for the company, for every step we take together, for the man who taught me that the best races aren't about finishing first, they're about who you're running with, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is slow down long enough to let yourself be caught. Total. Char count, 16,847.